Hello, my name is Sean Regan, and today in my presentation we're going to be discussing the country Ireland. We're going to talk about the way their education system is organized, the way their government is assembled, some popular religious beliefs in the country, and also some annual traditions and popular customs that are associated with Ireland. To begin here with the educational system, traditional schooling in Ireland starts for kids when they're around the ages of 4 or 5 years old. They will attend what is known as primary school. About 40% of kids will start when they're 4 years old. The other 60% of parents will opt to hold their kid back and start them a year later at the age of 5. In primary school, they will go through an 8-year cycle. The first 2 years is what known as junior infant, senior infant, and then you have your 1st through 6th class, which is very similar to that of 1st through 6th grade in America. Most of these primary schools are state funded. You have the option to send your child to a private school just like in America, but the majority of them are state funded, and about 90% of them are owned by religious groups or parishes. Following the 8-year cycle of primary school, students will now be at the ages of anywhere from 12 to 13 typically, and they will transfer and go to a different school, which is known as their post-primary school or their secondary school. When the students first begin their secondary school, they start off, which is what is known as the junior cycle. The junior cycle takes 3 years to complete, and it's 3 years of work that all leads up to what is known as your junior cycle exam, which is a little crazy to think about, going to school for 3 straight years and then having all 3 of those years put into one exam. That is definitely very different than what we do in America, but when students pass this exam, they receive a junior cycle certificate, and that makes them eligible for their senior cycle, which is the last part of traditional schooling. One thing that's really interesting about Ireland is when kids finish with their junior cycle, they're usually around 15 to 16 years old. It is very common for them to take a transition program, is what it's called. About 60% of kids will do it. It's a year that is still work, but there's no exams, there's no testing, but instead you will take a year and they do works within the community. They help the elderly and the less fortunate, the lower class. It's a very, very common thing in Ireland for students after they complete their junior cycle. Following their junior cycle, they will begin what is known as their senior cycle. Now at the age of 15 to 16, as I said, they've got 2 years remaining. It's similar to the last 2 years we have in high school here, their senior cycle. When that is completed, they take a state test, and with that test score, they can apply to all kinds of colleges and universities to pursue their bachelor's, master's, or doctorate degrees. On to government. In Ireland, their government is known as what is called a national parliament. It's made up of a president, who is currently Michael D. Higgins, and 2 houses. House of Representatives, which in Ireland they call the Dáil, and then the Senate, which is known as the Seanad. The Dáil also elects what is called a Taoiseach, and he is the leader of the Irish government. He's like a prime minister to a sense. That is not voted on by the people. Like I said, the Dáil, which is the House of Representatives, pick this leader of the government. Similar to America, Ireland follows a constitution, but the president in Ireland is very much less powerless than the president is in America. Not to keep comparing the two, but the power in government in Ireland rests within the Dáil. They create and introduce and vote on new bills that are turned into laws. The Seanad can check these laws and bills if they'd like. They can check their power, but the best they can do is delay. They cannot veto, and the president cannot veto as well. So the country is very much ran by the Dáil. Out of the 158 seats in the Irish Dáil, there's very many different parties. It's a multi-party system, obviously, but the Fine Gael party in Ireland holds the majority of seats in the Dáil, and they only own 49 out of the 158. There's said to be about 8 other political parties that are involved with the Dáil, and that doesn't even include the large number of independents. This is good because there's a wide amount of viewpoints that are discussed in the country. They look at things from all angles. It's not like a two-party system where they have a lot of people and you either back one side or the other. Obviously, debates are a lot longer and more deliberate, but all options are on the table when it comes to discussing Irish policies. Next, the religion of Ireland. There's no official state religion in Ireland. It states in their constitution that there's complete religious freedom in the country. You're free to practice any religion of your choosing. However, the most popular religion that is practiced in Ireland is Catholicism. They say about 78% of Irish citizens are Catholic. And the church, the Catholic Church, plays a very large role in the country. As I stated earlier, it owns a large amount of the primary schools, about 90%. And when those kids graduate their primary school and head to secondary school, about 50% of those are also owned and ran by churches. One thing that I found to be really interesting about the Irish religion is the idea of St. Patrick. The story is told, it goes as St. Patrick brought Catholicism over to the country of Ireland in 432 CE and used a 3-leaf clover to represent the Holy Trinity, which is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Some famous customs and traditions in Ireland. The Irish flag, is double the size and width as it is in height, from left to right in vertical stripes. You got green on the left, white in the middle, and orange on the right. That flag, the green on the left, represents all of the Catholic citizens in Ireland. And then the orange on the right represents all the citizens who are Protestants in Ireland. And the white stripe in the middle is a symbol of truce, hoping that those two sides can eternally get along within the country. For food, they say potatoes are the unofficial mascot of Irish food. This is because of the notorious potato famine that happened in the years 1845 to 1849. The potato crop failed, and this resulted in a lot of immigration and just not good things for the citizens of Ireland. Also, sports are a very, very vital part of Ireland's culture, the most popular sport being Gaelic football. It's very similar to rugby, where it's football really with no pads and more people, but they use a round ball similar to a soccer ball, which I found to be very interesting. Also, something that's very popular in Ireland is what they refer to as pub culture. People tend to always compare Ireland alcohol and just comparing the two, beer in Ireland, alcohol in Ireland. But the citizens in Ireland would be upset to hear that because they believe it's more about the social aspect of alcohol. And I even read that it is very uncommon, before the pandemic, of course, to drink at your house alone with just your family in the country. Irish pubs you can find them on almost every street in the country. And that'll wrap us up. There's my works cited. Thank you.